But it's hard for me to watch. Like on Long Way Up. So they did Patagonia and they did Chile and all that stuff up on electric bikes.
Electric Harleys, actually. That was interesting.
Yeah, electric Harleys. And so I have done that exact route on my motorcycle, and I made a video. It's Mark Wallace Patagonia. You can watch it. And I'm watching it. I'm like, this is cool because this is my backyard. I know this place very, very well. I know all these places and cities, and I've got friends in all these cities. And there was an episode where they couldn't charge the bikes because they didn't have a charging place. And in rolls like an 18-wheeler with a giant generator on the back, diesel powered. And it turns out that that truck followed them for the whole route. I'm like, so did they do it? I mean,
Yeah.
if basically you have an entire crew of 30 people following you as you go, and if there's any difficulty at all, you're okay. Did you do the adventure or did you make a show? And they made a show.
Yeah, so this is an interesting thing, and of course, the general public, I think, generally forget the fact that a lot of the time these are TV shows,
Yeah,
and
it's a
if
TV show.
and if it fails halfway through, then you don't have a show. Yet you've just spent probably millions of dollars on a budget,
Sure.
in order, so it somehow has to succeed. And I tell you, this is one of the reasons why, one of many reasons why I decided to leave the music industry originally. Because many years ago, I used to run a music school. Um, and this was like, I started in the very early 2000s. And this was like at the height of reality TV shows like X Factor, for example. And there was a whole barrage of reality TV shows like that, Superstars, and the X Factor was
Sure.
probably the biggest one. Um, and and there were super popular, mega popular shows on TV at the time. And so I got a little bit of an insight into how these shows work because some of our students over the years took part in the audition process of X Factor in particular. And what I realized at the time, or I learned very quickly, was how abysmal these shows actually were, especially X
For
Factor.
the people. Well, now there's
Because
documentaries telling people how horrible those shows were.
yeah, but the thing was like, it was because I remember you watch a show like that, and you kind of there's an audition process and different audition stages of auditions. And you go like, how do these people think they can sing, for example? If they have like they're completely tone deaf, not a single note is in tune, everything's out of time, you know, and you go, how do they think that they can sing? I mean, it's unbelievable. I can't understand how they can stand there and deliver this and actually think that they have even the remotest chance of getting anywhere on this talent show in inverted commas, right? Until I learned that by the time you watch this on television in what appears to be stage one of the audition stages, this is already stage five or whatever, because on
Right.
all the previous non-televised stages, they've been told how great they are. And so they rock up on the first audition on TV
Jeez.
full of confidence and in the completely, in the crazy belief that they're like super talented and have a chance, only then to be murderously and
Right.
brutally being put down and being made fun of in front of TV, in front of TV cameras. And you sit there as an audience and you listen to what, I don't know, the likes of Simon Cowell or whoever the judges of the day were, how they verbally put them down this is medieval torture, that we're watching on
Bad.
TV, and honestly, and that's the TV format. That is why
Sure.
it's so successful because you wanna hear what, ghastly thing the judges say to some people who are completely deluded, apparently. But what you don't realize is that at least on 3, 4, 5 occasions previously, they've been told how great they are. And it's just like
Sure.
it to me just seems such a, callous way of you know, uh, making people believe something just in order to get that TV fix and get the ratings. It was just
Well, that's
it's
what
horrendous.
that's why those shows exist is for people to watch them.
Absolutely.
Um, Top Gear, which it was not a thing in the United States. I was shocked when I learned of Top Gear to realize it's the most popular television show in the world. Like, what? We don't even know about this show. Like, what? Yeah, we didn't know about it until it became the Grand Tour on Amazon in the
Oh,
United
right.
States.
Right.
Yeah, and so, like, we didn't know who these guys were. But after watching the Grand Tour on Amazon, like, this show is amazing. And so I went back and I was watching Top Gear, the old stuff. And um, so people criticized Clarkson and this, the team because they are like, these shows are highly produced and they're scripted and they're fake and blah, blah, blah. And so they said, okay, we're going to make one where there's no script, there's no pre production, there's nothing. We're just going to go and shoot it the way you think we should shoot it. And so they made an episode. I don't remember. I don't think it's on YouTube. It's on Amazon or something. But there is one Top Gear where they're like, we didn't script anything, and it's horrible. Like you watch this episode, and at the end, it's the three guys, and are like, you see why we do that? You're like, if we don't script it, if we don't do some pre-production, if we don't, it is not entertaining. It's just watching three dudes make some mistakes, and it is not good television. And like they're right. Top Gear is Top Gear because of that team that produces it. And the other crazy thing is, like in the last, um, it's not the last Top Gear, but it's the last Grand Tour, I think, the Amazon version, where they pan back the very, very last one, and they're like, here's the three dudes. And then they show the crew that makes this show. It's like 40 people that are there constantly. So you're thinking it's like three guys in cars doing these crazy things, and there's some GoPros in the cars. No, that's not the case at all. There are segment producers, there are safety guys, there are riggers, there are, stunt doubles. They're like just this massive team of people that make this show that we can watch to believe three guys are having these ridiculous adventures. Um, that's collaboration for you right there.
Oh,
That
absolutely.
is that's the way that, most of the stuff that we consume, we see the tip of the iceberg. Like any late night show, you're looking at, Jimmy Kimmel or Seth Meyers, whoever, the person sitting at the desk doing the interview, they're good at reading a teleprompter or cards, and they've done some work. But there's a room of writers, there's segment producers, there is a whole legal team. Those Just look at the credits for one of those shows. It's not one dude making up, all this funny stuff. It's this huge team of people creating, and one guy gets the credit for all of the work that everybody else does. And, over and over and over again, if you look at the most successful creatives, they're part of a team. People are part of the team. Um, even if you look at um, oh, what's his name? Choppy ear off guy. Only could see yellow. Van Gogh. If it wasn't for his brother,
I thought you meant Trump there
he
for a minute. I
no,
thought you were gonna go
no,
to orange.
no, 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 no. Um, if it wasn't for his brother, we would never have any of his works. His brother supported him and basically gave us all of Van Gogh's works. Where you know, his brother and the people surrounding him, he had severe mental health issues, but he was able to create because of the community that he was in. You look at what happened with Picasso, and again, he's working on inspiration. He said, "What great artists, good artists borrow, great artists steal." Is that what he said? Something like that. And you look at what happened with the Impressionists and what happened in the Paris Exposition around, what is that, 1905 or 10, whatever it was, when the Eiffel Tower was built. You look at what those guys were doing. They weren't even allowed to show their works in the galleries. They had to create their own stuff because everybody thought it was, rubbish and vulgar and no good. And now Musée d'Orsay is filled with their work. You look at all the writers like Fitzgerald and the guys that were living in the left bank and all of this stuff that was happening, Hemingway and all that stuff. Um, those guys hung out constantly. They drank together, they talked together, they read each other's works, they criticized each other. They weren't creating in a vacuum, they were creating in a community. And if you look at most great movements of art Even Ansel Adams, F-64 group, he was a part of that. And then you had like Man Ray, who was in a totally different group. He's the Surrealists, and the Salvador Dali and all those guys, and they were at odds. And you look at people that are creating now, people aren't creating in a vacuum. People that are successful, they're working in teams, they're working in communities, even individual contributors. So like Adorama TV, when I was doing that, we had myself, we had Ab, we had Daniel Norton and Seth and Gavin and Vanessa and Tamara Lackey and a bunch of people. We talk to each other all the time, and we still do. A lot of us are still talking to each other.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip, then press here for the full episode in glorious Technicolor. Hey, and don't forget to subscribe.